Brothers and sisters, my name is Jose Tapia, and I have the honor of serving as your union president. Before we vote on accepting our new bylaws, I'm going to walk everyone through them, article by article. I'll read each section and give a short explanation of what it means. The goal is to make sure everyone understands what's in these new bylaws. Preamble. Under Article 37, Section 3 of the International Union, UAW Constitution, it is mandatory for all local unions to establish and ratify bylaws. Bylaws must be submitted to the International Executive Board for review and ratification, and are not effective until that submission, excluding limited exceptions that are specified in Article 37, Section 3. Along with the UAW Constitution, your local union bylaws serve as the law of your local union and establish the processes, protocols, and procedures that govern the rights of your local union's members. What does that mean? Every UAW local union must have bylaws approved by the International Union. These bylaws, along with the UAW Constitution, are basically the rulebook for how our local union operates and protects its members' rights. Article 1. Name. This organization shall be known as Local Number Blank International Union, United Automobile, Aerospace, and Agricultural Implement Workers of America, UAW. What does this mean? This just states our official name as UAW Local Union. Article 2. Bylaws are subordinate to the Constitution. The Constitution of this local union shall be the Constitution of the International Union, UAW, and these bylaws should be in all respects subordinate to that Constitution and all applications and interpretations thereof. What does that mean? Our bylaws must follow the UAW Constitution. If there's ever a conflict, the Constitution takes priority. Article 3. Fiscal Year. The fiscal year of the local union shall begin on January 1st and end on December 31st. What does this mean? Our financial year runs from January 1st to December 31st, just like a regular calendar year. Article 4. Membership. Membership shall be restricted to membership eligibility under Article 6 of the UAW Constitution. Each member in good standing of this local union has the right to nominate and vote, express opinions on all subjects before the local union, to attend all membership meetings and express views, arguments and opinions on all matters in business, including candidates for office, properly before the meeting, to meet and assemble freely with other members and generally, to participate in the activities of the local union in a responsible manner consistent with good conscience in order to present and discuss factually and honestly the issues and personalities upon which the membership must base its decisions. These rights shall at all times be subject to the rules of procedure governing meetings and other uniform rules and regulations contained in the UAW Constitution, policies of the International Executive Board, these bylaws, and other official rules of the local union. A member in exercising the foregoing rights and privileges shall not take any irresponsible action which would tend to jeopardize or destroy or be detrimental to either the local or international union as an organization, or their free democratic heritage, or which would interfere with its performance by this local union, or the international union, or its legal or contractual obligations as a collective bargaining agent, or interfere with the legal or contractual obligations of this local union as an affiliate of the international union. Violations or abuse of these rights and privileges of membership, or engaging in conduct prohibited by this section, shall be considered conduct on becoming a union member. The membership shall strive to obtain objectives set forth in the UAW Constitution, and additional objectives as established as the policy of the International Union, to maintain free relations with other organizations, to do all in its power to strengthen and promote the labor movement, to cooperate with its regional director, international representatives, and help promote organizational activities. What does this mean? Only eligible workers can be members, and members have the right to speak, vote, and take part in union activities. Members are expected to act responsibly and not to do anything that harms the union. Article 5. Membership Meetings. Regular general membership meetings shall be held at least once a month in accordance with Article 37, Section 4 of the Constitution, on 2 p.m. on the first Saturday of the month Central Time. Those members present at such membership meetings shall constitute a quorum. Any member who attends a meeting in an intoxicated condition and or creates a disturbance or becomes unruly shall lose their voice and the right to vote at said meeting. When necessary to maintain order, the member may be evicted from the meeting by the order of the chairperson of the meeting, subject to the challenge of the membership. Flagrant or persistent violation of this section by any member shall be conduct unbecoming of a union member. What does this mean? We'll have a membership meeting every first Saturday of the month at 2 p.m. Central Time. Whoever shows up makes up the quorum. Members must behave respectfully during meetings or risk losing their voice or vote. Article 6. Powers of Administration. The membership is the highest authority of this local union and shall be empowered to take or direct any action not inconsistent with the UAW Constitution or these bylaws. Between membership meetings, the Executive Board shall be the highest authority of the local union and shall be empowered to act on behalf of the membership to the extent urgent business requires prompt and decisive action, subject to subsequent membership approval. But the Executive Board may not take action affecting the vital interests of the local union without prior membership approval. Between meetings of the Executive Board, the President shall exercise general administrative authority and shall be empowered to act on behalf of and take action permitted to the Executive Board, subject to the subsequent approval of the Executive Board. What does this mean? The members have the final say in the union. Between meetings, the Executive Board can handle urgent issues, and between board meetings, the President can make decisions. But everything still has to be approved later by the member or the board. Article 7. Local Union Executive Officers. In accordance with Article 38 of the Constitution, the local union shall have only the following 9 local union executive officers: a president, a vice president, a recording secretary, a financial secretary treasurer. The office of financial secretary and treasurer shall be combined. 3 trustees, a sergeant of arms, and a guide. Should one or more of these local union executive officers be absent, the absent officers shall be temporarily replaced by the next local union executive officer present, following the above order of hierarchy. All elections for local union executive officers shall be held in accordance with Article 38 of the Constitution. The election of local union executive officers shall take place by secret ballot during May and June. Installation shall take place at the regular meeting following the election. There shall be a special election no later than the month of May 2026 to fulfill the new local union executive officer positions who shall serve a 3-year term. Those executive officers who are already elected shall fill the remainder of the 3-year term, and when their term expires, there shall be a special election to fill the vacancies of such offices until the general elections that will be held in the months of May or June of 2029. For such dates to be set by the general membership, of which all officers shall hold the same 3-year term thereafter. In accordance with Article 38, Section 14 of the Constitution, all vacancies in local union offices, except for the office of President, shall be promptly filled by election, provided that the local union may provide other means for filling such vacancies for the temporary period pending the holding of the election. In the case of a vacancy in the office of President, the Vice President shall fill the vacancy for the unexpired term. The duties of the executive officers are specifically set forth in Article 40 of the UAW Constitution. What does this mean? We'll have 9 main officers: President, Vice President, Recording Secretary, Financial Secretary Treasurer, 3 trustees, a Sergeant at Arms, and a guide. Elections happen by secret ballot, and the terms last 3 years. Article 8. Local Union Executive Board. The Local Union Executive Board shall consist of all the elected local union executive officers and such members at large as the local union may deem necessary. It is understood that if the local union wishes to add members at large in the future to their local union executive board, they shall be required to properly change their bylaws to do so in accordance with the Constitution prior to such election being scheduled. It is also understood that if in the future the local union receives a charter for a local union retired workers chapter, such chapter may also elect a retired member from the local union to sit on the local union executive board. It shall be the duty and obligation of all local union officers and executive board members and all other representatives of the local union, whether elected or appointed, to support, advance, and carry out all provisions of the Constitution, official policies of the International Union, and, to the extent not inconsistent with the foregoing, all official policies of the local union. A simple majority of the local union executive board shall constitute a quorum. Minutes will be taken of all executive board meetings by the recording secretary and shall be read to the membership at meetings. All decisions and recommendations of the executive board shall be referred to the next regular membership meeting. The Executive Board shall review the local union's communication programs at each of the local union's publications, and where necessary, shall take steps to bring the contents and policy into conformity with the policies of the International Union. What does this mean? The Executive Board is made up of all elected officers and possibly other members later on. They handle business between meetings, keep records, and make sure all local actions follow UAW policy. Article 9, Steward Elections/Recall. In accordance with Article 45 of the Constitution, all stewards shall be democratically elected for 3-year terms. All members in good standing working under the jurisdiction to be represented by the steward shall be eligible to nominate and vote for the steward. Such elections shall be held in the month of August, and the installation of such representatives shall take place at the following regular membership meeting in September. There shall be a special election no later than the month of February 2026 to elect all stewards who shall serve a 3-year term. Those who are already elected shall fill the remainder of the 3-year term, and when the term expires, there shall be a special election to fill the vacancies of such offices until the next steward election that will be held in August 2029. For such date to be set by the election committee, of which all stewards shall hold the same 3-year term thereafter. In vacancy of steward shall be held special election within 45 calendar days. Any recall of a steward shall be in accordance with Article 45 of the Constitution. A vote on the question of recalling a steward may be initiated by a petition setting forth the reasons why the recall is sought and signed by at least 25% of the current members working under the jurisdiction of the steward. Then 25% of the current members working under the jurisdiction of the steward must be present at the recall meeting to establish a quorum. A 2/3 vote of those present and voting is necessary to recall. What does this mean? Stewards are elected by the members they represent for 3-year terms. If members are unhappy with a steward, they can start a recall vote by petition, and it takes 2/3 vote to remove. Article 10, Bargaining Committee. The local bargaining committee shall consist of the following local union executive officers and representatives: the president, the chief steward, and 2 secretaries who shall be elected among the members by their membership no later than 3 months before the expiration of the collective bargaining agreement. All members of the bargaining committee must be elected in accordance with the local union bylaws, and no temporary appointed officers or representatives shall be on the bargaining committee. What does this mean? The bargaining committee includes the president, the chief steward, and 2 members elected by everyone before the contract expires. Only elected representatives can be on the committee. Article 11, Standing Committees. The local union should consist of all the required standing committees per Article 44 of the UAW Constitution. What does that mean? The local union will have the regular UAW committees. Article 12, Election Committee. The local union election committee shall be nominated and elected in the month of February for a 3-year term by the membership. The election committee should consist of at least 6 members. Once the election committee is elected, those committee members shall elect a chair and vice chair of the election committee, who shall be responsible for coordinating any and all local union elections and report such results to the membership. The first election for the election committee will be held in 2026. The local union election committee shall use the International Union UAW's Guide for Local Union Election Committees, the UAW Constitution, and these bylaws for the resources when holding any and all local union elections. What does that mean? Every 3 years, the members elect the election committee of at least 6 members to run all union elections. They follow UAW rules to make sure elections are fair. Article 13, Finances. The local union has established that $10 shall be the initiation fee. The local union has established that $50 shall be the reinstatement fee. The local union shall pay a representative or a member lost time only when that representative or member is performing necessary duties for and on behalf of the local union during a time for which they would otherwise be compensated by the employer. The amount of lost time should never exceed the amount which the local union representative or member would otherwise have received from their employer for that same period of time for which they are being compensated by the local union. When required to stay overnight, housing accommodations, single room, occupancy rate, or half a double room rate if shared with another member, plus meals, not to exceed International Executive Board policy per day with hotel receipt. Not to exceed International Executive Board policy per day on the day of return. When not required to stay overnight, the maximum shall not exceed International Executive Board policy for meals. Transportation. The extra cost of airfare not to exceed coach fare, or the IRS mileage rate, whichever is more economical. Not to exceed the maximum amount of established by the International Executive Board. Expense for transportation is to be paid for the actual mode of transportation used. Mileage expense can only be paid to the driver of the automobile. Article 14. Eligibility for office. Eligibility for executive officer is set forth in the UAW Constitution and cannot be increased or decreased by the local union. If there are no eligibility requirements for non-executive officers or officials in the bylaws, it would be presumed that the only requirement is to be a member in continuous good standing. What does that mean? To run for office, you must meet the UAW Constitution's requirements and be a member in good standing. Article 15. Attendance rules. No attendance rules have been established by the local union at this time. What does that mean? No attendance rules are set right now. The local can decide to add them later. Article 16. Delegates from their local union. All delegates to the international conventions shall be chosen pursuant to the provisions of Article 8 of the UAW Constitution. The eligibility for convention delegates is also controlled by the UAW Constitution. No other delegates have been established yet. What does this mean? When we send delegates to UAW conventions, they'll be chosen the same way the Constitution says. No other delegate positions are currently set up. Article 17. Order of Business. Order of business at the regular monthly local union membership meetings shall be governed by the suggested order of business per Article 42 of the Constitution. Order of business at the local union executive board meetings shall be governed by the suggested order of business per Article 42 of the Constitution for membership meetings. What does this mean? Our meetings will follow the UAW's recommended order of business, so every meeting runs in a fair and organized way. Article 18. Appeals. Any and all appeals shall be within accordance with Article 33 of the Constitution. What does this mean? If someone disagrees with the union's decision, they must follow the UAW's official appeal process. Article 19. Strikes. Any strikes shall be called or terminated only in strict conformance with Article 50 of the UAW Constitution. What does that mean? Strikes can only be started or ended following the UAW's official strike procedures, so everything is legal and democratic. Article 20. Lease agreements. No agent or official of the local union is authorized to execute a real estate lease, deed, service, or maintenance contract or other long-term agreement unless the proposed agreement has been reviewed by an outside expert or attorney and approved by the local union executive board. What does this mean? No one can sign a long-term contract or leases for the union without the executive board's approval and legal review. Article 21. General. In accordance with Article 6, Section 14 of the Constitution, all members of the local union are also members of this international union and subject to the orders, rulings, and decisions of this international union and the properly constituted authorities of the same. In accordance with Article 6, Section 15 of the Constitution, the international union and the local union to which the member belongs shall be his exclusive representative for the purpose of collective bargaining in respects to rates of pay, wages, hours of employment, or other conditions of employment, and for the negotiation and execution of contracts with employers covering all such matters, including contracts requiring membership or the continuance of membership in the union as a condition of employment or continued employment, and contracts requiring the employer to deduct, collect, or assist in collecting her or his wages, any dues, initiation fees, reinstatement fees payable to the international union or her his local union. In accordance with Article 6, Section 16 of the Constitution, the international union and the local union to which the member belongs, and in each of them are in him irrevocably designated, authorized, and empowered exclusively to appear and act for the member, and in his behalf before any board, court, committee, or the tribunal in any matter affecting his status as an employee or a member of his local union or international union, and exclusively to act as the member's agent to represent and bind him in the presentation, prosecution, adjustment, and settlement for all grievances, complaints, or disputes of any kind or character arising out of the employer employee relationship, as fully and to all intents and purposes as he might or could do if personally present. In accordance with Article 9 of the Constitution, local union officers shall, from the date of taking office, be required to register and vote in elections for civil officers in the area in which their homes are located, provided they are eligible under the laws of the area and that it is physically possible for them to do so. Violations of this section shall subject a person charged to discipline, in pursuit of the procedures provided for in this Constitution. In accordance with Article 19, Section 3 of the Constitution, no local union officer, international officer, or international representative shall have the authority to negotiate the terms of a contract or any supplement thereof with any employer without first obtaining the approval of the local union. After negotiations have been concluded with the employer, the proposed contract or supplement shall be submitted to the vote of the local union membership at a meeting called especially for such purpose. Should the proposed contract or supplement be approved by a majority vote at the local union or unit members so participating, it shall be referred to the regional director for his recommendation to the International Executive Board for its approval or rejection. In case the regional board member recommends approval, the contract becomes operative until the final action is taken by the International Executive Board. In accordance with Article 23, Section 4 of the Constitution, it shall be mandatory that each local union affiliate with the appropriate state cap council and any city, country, or area cap council established under this structure in accordance with the requirements of Article 37, Section 1 and 2 of the Constitution. In accordance with Article 27, Section 1 of the Constitution, education shall be mandatory part of the business of the International Union and of each local union, particularly education in labor history, labor problems, the objectives of the International Union, and the problems of the International Union, its members, and their families. In accordance with Article 33, Section 5 of the Constitution, it shall be the duty of any individual or body, if aggrieved by any action, decision, or penalty imposed, to exhaust fully the individual or body's remedy and all appeals under this Constitution and the rules of this union before going to a civil court or governmental agency for redress. In accordance with Article 37, Section 7 of the Constitution, no local union or other subordinate body, and no officer, agent, representative, or member thereof shall have the power or authority to represent, act for, commit, or bind the International Union in any matter except upon express authority having been granted before in writing by the International Executive Board or the International President. In accordance with Article 38, Section 6 of the Constitution, it shall be the duty and obligation of all local union officers and executive board members and all other official representatives of the local union, whether elected or appointed, to support, advance, and carry out all provisions of this Constitution, official policies of the International Union, and, to the extent not inconsistent with the foregoing, all official policies of the local union. All local union officers, committees, stewards, and other members handling funds or other property of the union shall, at the completion of their duties, turn over all papers, documents, funds, and or union property to the properly constituted local union officers. Wherever in these bylaws a pronoun is used, it refers equally, where the reference is applicable, to both men and women in the singular and in the plural. What does this mean? This section repeats key rules from the UAW Constitution, things like how our members are represented, how contracts are approved, the importance of education, and handling union property. Basically, it ties our locals' rules back to the UAW overall structure. Article 22. Previous local union bylaws prior to affiliation with UAW. It is understood and approved by the membership that these UAW local bylaws supersede any previous bylaws of the WMPC Employees Representative Union that were adopted prior to the local affiliation with the International Union, UAW, and receiving a charter establishing of our own UAW local union. What does this mean? These bylaws replace the older ones from before we affiliated with UAW. From now on, we will follow these local bylaws. Article 23. Amendments to bylaws. These bylaws may be amended by presenting a motion in writing, setting forth the amendments sought to a membership meeting. The motion shall be read to that meeting and referred to the Constitution and Bylaws Committee, which will report to the succeeding membership meeting, the notice of which contains a notice of the particular bylaw amendments that will be considered. If approved by 2/3 of the membership vote thereon at the succeeding meeting, the amendment should be considered adopted by the membership. Such bylaws then shall be sent to the International President's Office for approval, with copies supplied to the region at the same time. Bylaws submitted to the International Union for review and approval should be typed or printed on an 8.5 by 11 size paper. To resubmit your bylaws with changes, revisions, or amendments, please take the following steps. Step 1. Take each page of the bylaws that need to be changed and mark the sections you want to change. Step 2. Retype the entire page with the changes typed in. Step 3. Underline the changes on the new page in red. If you deleted a portion of the old bylaws without substituting anything new for it, so that there's nothing to underline, make a note in red that the section was deleted. Step 4. Enter the new page with changes into the bylaws and discard the old page. Step 5. Send one complete set of the revised bylaws along with a letter indicating the date the local union membership approved the bylaw changes. Send your submission to International Union Bylaws Department. Step 6. The International Union will send a report to your local union after the bylaws have been processed. Changes made to your bylaws are not in effect unless they have been submitted in accordance with the procedures outlined above. What does this mean? If we ever want to change our bylaws, members must approve it in writing, discuss it in meetings, and approve it by 2/3 vote. Then it must be sent to UAW International for final approval before it takes effect.